Hi, welcome to the Simple Weight Loss Podcast. I'm Christina, qualified nutritionist, food coach, and mum of two. If you're a busy mum who wants straightforward, no-nonsense weight loss advice without all the complicated science talk, or you just want to learn more about health and nutrition in a way that's easy to understand, then you're in the right place. To the Simple Weight Loss Podcast. I'm Christina, and welcome if you haven't joined us before. Today, I'm going to be talking about keto diet. And before you assume that I'm about to tell you that it's terrible and you should never touch it, I'm not going to do that. I just want to give you an understanding of why it works and why it stops working, and what that means for you if you're someone who's tried it and lost the weight and then somehow ended up back where you started. It's not that you've necessarily done anything wrong when you've gone about trying this diet, but there's a lot going on underneath the surface that I think a lot of people don't understand. So let's get into it. Okay, so first of all, quick recap on anyone that might need it. Keto or the ketogenic diet is a very high fat, low carb diet. So I'm talking about around 70 to 75% of your calories coming from fats and 20% from protein and only about 5% from carbs. Looking at it in terms of food, it's about 20 to 50 grams of carbs a day, depending on the version of the diet that you follow. That looks like about maybe even one medium banana. That's about 27 grams of carbs. So on a really strict keto diet, a banana could throw you out of ketosis for the day. So the goal with keto diet is to get your body into a state called ketosis, where because carbs are so scarce, your liver starts producing ketone bodies from fat, and your body uses that for fuel instead of glucose. So this is a real physiologic process that happens. The ketogenic diet was actually developed in the 1920s to treat epilepsy in children, and it still has legitimate clinical uses today. But being in ketosis and losing fat sustainably for long term are not the same thing. And so that's exactly what I want to talk about today. So we'll start with the positive side, because keto does produce results, especially early on in the diet. When you cut carbs right down, your body burns through its glycogen stores really quickly. Glycogen is stored glucose and holds onto water, about 3 to 4 grams of water per gram of glycogen. So when glycogen goes, the water goes with it. And this is why a lot of people lose 2, 3, even 4 kilos in the first week. It's real weight loss on the scale, but it's usually water. It's not fat, which is fine, but it's not a bad thing. But it's worth knowing, because when that initial drop slows right down, which it always does, then people are likely to get upset and lose motivation because they're not seeing the scale drop as quickly in the following weeks. It genuinely does reduce hunger. Ketones seem to have an appetite suppressing effect, and high fat meals keep you full for longer because fat slows down how quickly food leaves your stomach. It kind of plays a similar role to fiber in how it works. It keeps you feeling full the same as fiber does. So a lot of people on keto find they're just not as hungry, so they eat less without really trying. And so the key thing here is that that's one of the big reasons why the keto diet produces fat loss. It's not because of some magical property of the ketones, because when you're less hungry, you eat less. And when you eat less, you lose the fat. It's just a calorie deficit. So the keto structure just makes getting there feel easier for some people. The third reason why this diet works is because you're cutting out a ton of ultra-processed food. So if you go keto, suddenly most packaged snacks, soft drinks, bread, pasta, chips, all those things, they're off limits. They're gone from your diet. And these are foods that are specifically designed to make you overeat. They spike your blood sugar, they drive cravings, they're hard to stop eating. If you're removing them completely, most people eat less and they feel better pretty quickly as well. But I'll come back to this, that outcome isn't just unique to the keto diet. The same thing happens if you're on a paleo diet, a whole food plant-based diet, any approach really that gets ultra-processed foods out of the picture. I want to quickly just touch on 2 diets that are kind of in a similar family to keto, and that is paleo and carnivore, because a lot of the same stuff applies with these. So paleo is basically eating what your ancestors ate. So meat, fish, eggs, vegetables, fruit, nuts and seeds. There's no grains, no legumes, no dairy, nothing processed. It's less extreme than keto. You can still eat things like sweet potato and fruit, so it's not necessarily low carb, but the appeal is the simplicity of it. If a caveman wouldn't have eaten it, then skip it. And look, a diet built around whole foods and quality protein, it's definitely a good foundation, but the blanket rules of no legumes, no grains, they don't really hold up nutritionally, because lentils and oats, they're not bad foods. They actually have really great nutritional value. So the restrictions that are in place, they're kind of based on this romanticized version of prehistoric eating, not actual evidence that we have today. Then there's carnivore, which is keto taken to the extremes. So you can eat meat, fish, eggs, some dairy, and that's pretty much it. They cut out plants completely. Some people swear by it, especially for autoimmune or digestive conditions. And I'm not dismissing anyone's personal experience with it, but from a nutritional standpoint, removing all plant foods means removing fiber and also removing a massive range of vitamins, antioxidants, and phytonutrients. And there's a lot of evidence that show that these things matter for our gut health, for our hormonal health, and for long-term disease risk. Also, the data on carnivore long-term just isn't there yet to back it up as a sustainable approach for most people. So what keto, paleo, and carnivore all share is that they're built on elimination. They're removing entire food groups. They've got firm rules in place. They frame certain foods as being off limits. And it can definitely work short term, but it's also why they tend to unravel and people tend to fall off the wagon if they're trying out these diets. So this next part of why this diet stops working is what actually matters. So let's say you start keto, you lose the weight, you're feeling great, you're less bloated, you're getting fewer cravings, and the scale's going down, the fat's dropping. And then at some point it just stops, or life gets busy and you fall off the diet. Or you had one night where you eat pasta and then you feel like you've ruined everything and you might as well just start over on Monday. Your metabolism adapts to any diet you go on. Your metabolism is going to adapt. Your body is really good at adjusting to any changes that you throw at it. So when you eat consistently fewer calories, your total daily energy expenditure actually decreases over time. Your body becomes more efficient as a protective response. And this happens on every diet, not just keto. So the same calorie deficit that was producing results a month ago, keep producing results by month 4. The goalpost shifts. And for a lot of people, that's when the frustration really kicks in. They're doing everything the same and getting nothing back from it. Keto is one of the most restrictive dietary patterns out there. And restriction, I mean, real restriction, not just I'm choosing to eat less of this, but this food is completely off limits. This kind of restriction creates a psychological pressure over time, because when something's completely off limits, you tend to think about it constantly. And there's research on it that's very clear. Rigid food rules increase the likelihood of binge eating and that exhausting cycle of going hard in a diet, falling off, and then starting over. So if you've done keto and you've lost the weight, you've come off it and gained it back, and then decided it was your fault, you're the reason it didn't work, it's not necessarily your fault. It's not your fault that it didn't work. It's the whole approach of the diet and the restriction around it that's failing you, not the other way around. A way of eating that only works when everything's going perfectly, it isn't sustainable. Keto can be hard to maintain once you're living your life. You know, you're going to birthday parties, you've got work lunches, travel, eating at someone else's house. You've got a busy week where you haven't prepped anything and you're just trying to get dinner on the table. These things happen every week. So if you can't continue eating according to this diet every week, and it makes it hard to stick to these restrictive diets when you need to be doing things in a hurry or you're trying to be social. Food is a very social thing. It's also a cultural thing, and it's tied to nearly every celebration and gathering that we have. So any approach that puts you in constant conflict with that it's going to have a limited shelf life for most people. Another thing is the nutritional gaps that you're going to find on this diet. So when you cut carbs severely, you also cut out a lot of foods that are actually really good for you. So there's legumes, fruit, whole grains, starchy vegetables. These are some of the best sources of dietary fiber that we have. And fiber isn't optional. It feeds your gut bacteria, it supports hormonal regulation, it helps manage blood sugar, and it keeps your bowel functioning properly as well. It keeps you regular. So a lot of people on a strict keto diet are chronically under eating fiber. And the effects of that are going to be things like gut disruption, hormonal imbalance. These can make fat loss even harder over time. Keto makes it particularly tough to stick to as well, because you're either in ketosis or you're not. So any deviation is going to feel like you've failed. You can't just let go of the strict routine for a day, because if you eat some birthday cake, you're back to square one. You got to go right back to the start because you can get back to ketosis. And that's a really exhausting way to live. It turns every meal into a pass or fail situation. And that level of stress around food is going to have real consequences, especially for your mental health. It's going to affect your cortisol levels as well and your relationship with eating in general. If we have a look at what some of the research says, short-term keto stacks up well. There are studies that consistently show strong weight loss results in the first 6 to 12 months, and also meaningful improvements in blood sugar management for people with type 2 diabetes. There's also benefits for triglycerides and HDL cholesterol, but long-term, the picture changes. When researchers follow people for 2 or more years, the differences between a low carb and other dietary patterns largely disappear because people drift back towards more moderate carb intake, or they just can't sustain the restriction, or the metabolic advantages just level out. There was a study done in 2018 in the Journal of American Medical Association, which compared low fat versus low carb diets over 12 months. There was no significant difference in weight loss between the two groups at the end of the year. What they did find predicted success, though, was the ability to actually stick with the diet, which says everything, really. It just means that the best diet is not the most metabolically clever one. It's the one that you can actually sustain long term. So what does actually work long term? If it's not keto, then what? I'm not going to tell you there's a perfect diet because there isn't. But what the evidence consistently supports is eating enough protein. It's the macronutrient that's going to keep you feeling satisfied the longest. It's going to preserve muscle while you're losing fat, and your body burns more energy just by digesting it. So you don't need to go carnivore to get enough protein. 1.2 grams per kilo of body weight. That's a really good place to start. The other thing that's going to work long term is eating plenty of fiber. So vegetables, legumes, whole grains, fruit, they're not the enemy. These are some of the most protective foods for your long-term hormonal and metabolic health. The other thing that's going to work for fat loss long term is a calorie deficit without extremes. So just small, consistent adjustments. They're going to beat dramatic overhauls every time. The dramatic ones, they feel impressive at the start, but by a month or two, they fall apart. And you need to build in flexibility. So you ask yourself, can I eat this way at a birthday party or on a holiday when life gets really busy and really messy? If the answer is no, then the approach isn't built to last. Take a look at the bigger picture, especially if you're postpartum or in perimenopause, chronically stressed, or you're not sleeping. Your hormones are doing a lot when it comes to fat storage and hunger and metabolism. So no diet will ever override a body that's under real physiological stress. You have to work with what's actually going on for you. Keto isn't bad. Paleo isn't bad. Even carnivore. If someone's managing an actual medical condition under proper supervision and it's working for them, then that's their experience and that's great. But for most women, most mums who are busy and tired and have been starting over on Monday for years, extreme restriction is not the answer. It's just another version of the same cycle. It's just got a different name. Sustainable fat loss isn't about finding the most aggressive approach. It's about building a way of eating that's going to hold up when life is imperfect, when the kids are sick, when work blows up, when you're traveling or it's someone's birthday, or you just didn't get to the shops and dinner is whatever's in the fridge. That's what's actually going to work when you have a way of eating that's going to work around all of that. So you don't go looking for perfection. You just need a solid foundation that you can come back to consistently over time. All right, well, that's it for me today. If you found this episode helpful, or you have a friend or family member that might find it helpful, please share it with them. A lot of people are going around in this cycle of dieting and trying different diets. So I think it's something that a lot of women need to understand. And if you are ready to build something that actually fits your real life, check out my Ultimate Weight Loss Guide. It's a great place to start. I'll put the link in the show notes. Have a great week. I'll see you next time.